I've recently purchased a Segway Ninebot F2 electric kick scooter. There are no kickbacks here, nothing. My own money, my own opinions.
You're watching MotoringBox, proudly supported by Century Batteries.
Now this one is just the regular F2 kick scooter, and there are actually 3 F2 models in the range. So here is voiceover Sean to tell you the differences between all 3 models.
The F2 range consists of 3 scooters of varying specifications. If we look at the gross weight, you'll see that the F2 is the lightest, with the F2 Plus and Pro getting progressively heavier. This is because those models have larger batteries and more powerful motors, but we'll look at that in a second. Despite this, no matter which F2 scooter you go with, the maximum rider weight and height remain the same. The scooter's maximum speeds are the same too. What does change, however, is the theoretical range, with the F2 returning approximately 40 kilometers and the F2 Plus and Pro bumping it up to 55 kilometers. Thanks to their more impressive motors, the F2 Plus and Pro can also attack slightly steeper hills, but the larger battery in the F2 Plus and Pro means they'll take slightly longer to charge, with 10.2 amps in the base model F2 and 12.8 ampere-hour batteries fitted to the Plus and Pro models. The only remaining differences here are the motor power ratings, with a 50-watt difference between the nominal power ratings of each model.
So the reason I went for the base model F2 is that it's got more than enough power and range for what I need. And the most important aspect for me was actually the price too. Being the base model, I paid just 797 Australian dollars from a local retailer here in Queensland. So now that you've got a basic overview of what this scooter is, let's unbox it and see what's included. So straight up, I can see we've got our scooter here upright. We've got a bag here with the user manual and a couple of tools and screws. Get the packaging out of the way. The handlebars are separate at the moment, but are still connected with the wires, so we have to keep those together. So we'll sit the handlebars inside the fork here for now, just to keep them safe. We've got our charger here in some kind of hook, and then it looks like it is simply just the scooter. So let's pull that out now. So firstly, we've got our little locking mechanism for the handlebars, and I can see 4 bolt holes, 2 here on the back and 2 on the front. I've got a little bag here with 4 bolts, so that should be pretty simple. We've got a little Allen key tool included. These do have thread locker on the threads, so hopefully once we put them in, they will stay in. So the little skerrick of information here suggests that the charger needs to be connected for at least 3 seconds to wake up the battery. So we'll do that. And then I understand we also need to pair the scooter to the Segway app, which we'll do next. So with the charger, we have a single brick here with the connector that goes to the scooter. And then they seem to supply 4 different power connectors depending on which country you're in. So here's an AU one. This looks like China or the USA. We've got an EU, UK style one there as well. God knows where that one's from. But I guess no matter where you are in the world, you'll have a plug to suit. And then locate the charging port, which I believe is under a little cover down the bottom here. Aha. So continuing on with my no instructions activation here, I've already downloaded the Segway Ninebot app. Let's launch it right now. Let's log in with Google. I'm gonna hide this so you can't see my account. We'll set a password. I'm gonna blur this as well so you can't see it. We'll hit search my device. So we need to scan a barcode. I can see one here. Aha, it's found it. So we're trying to connect. I can see a Bluetooth icon here. So apparently we need to press the button. It has now been paired. All right, it looks like we're ready to go. So it's showing the range here on the app, it's showing the charge, so we're currently at 74%. It hasn't really gone up since I plugged it in. It's currently on, it looks like you can power it off. There are some settings here as well. We've got cruise mode, energy recovery, walk mode, charging limit, start speed, traction control system, units of measurement. I might take this thing out first and just see how it goes, and then we'll come back and have a bit of a play around. Now to get this thing going, you can't just hold the throttle and go. You actually need to push and go beyond a certain speed, which by default is 3 kilometers per hour, and then depress the throttle. I've set it to 1. So let's head outside. We'll go test this thing out on the road and see how it performs. All right, so the Segway F2, I've had this for a couple of weeks and I've put about 8 kilometers on it. And overall, I have to say it's been a bit of a learning curve. I've never actually ridden a scooter before. I've ridden a lot of bikes and motorbikes in my years, but not a scooter. So really the standing position is something I've had to play around with. I've ridden a snowboard and a skateboard before, so straight away I thought my foot positioning would be roughly the same stance as that, but it's the opposite actually. On a snowboard, I put my sort of non-dominant foot first like this, but on a scooter, it just feels really unwieldy. And I think it's because of how your feet have to go. Like rather than sideways like a skateboard, they kind of have to point forwards a little bit. So I found putting my right dominant foot, I'm right-handed and sort of kick with my right foot. I found putting that at the front helps. Straight away, we just navigated that disabled ramp onto this bridge very easily. And I have to say, even though this is the weakest scooter in the F2 range, it does handle hills pretty well. There have been a few occasions where I've gone to go up a hill and the scooter starts losing power, losing speed. That's really not a big issue for me though, because really you can just start kicking and pushing it along like you would with a normal scooter, and you can pretty much keep it at top speed on the majority of hills, I've found anyway. So apologies if the wind is a bit full on, but we're making a little bit of a commute here. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, right? Do you go for one of the more expensive higher end models? Or do you, spend a lot less and go for a cheaper one and just know that on the hills you might need to give it a bit of a boost from time to time? So we've got our indicators here too, left and right. I don't really use them. I don't think I really have the need to. So we push it along and we get it moving. And we're away. So we're in performance mode at the moment. We're burling along at about 25 kilometers per hour. When you're a car driver, that does not sound quick. And indeed, it isn't. That car's doing 60, we're going a lot slower than that. But on a scooter, this thing feels quite unwieldy. You feel a little bit out of control, especially on any bump. It sort of pitches forward and back on the handlebars quite strongly. I would not want to be going much faster than this. Look, it's still a very easy and quick way to get around. If this is your sort of first and last part of the trip, if you're taking a scooter to a train station, taking it on the train and then using it for the final leg of the journey once you've arrived, I think it's a really cool scooter for that. It is about 20 kilos, so it is not the lightest thing to carry around, but compared to some of the more high power scooters with the bigger engines, the bigger batteries, I think this is a pretty cool option to go for. So another thing we'll talk about here is the regen. So I've just let off the throttle. Regen braking is bringing us to a stop. This is something that I've had to play around with during my ownership of this scooter. So initially, I put it on the most severe, the strongest regenerative braking I could get. It was too much. I wasn't very stable on it when I was trying to learn it. So I turned it back to the weakest. But then as I got used to the scooter, the weakest was sort of like not doing enough, and I was having to lean on the brakes a lot to slow the thing down when I needed to. So when the confidence level went up, I put the regen back up to max, and I've found that to be amazing. It just means that you pretty much never need the brakes unless you're on a really steep hill going down. And yeah, it just saves the wear on the brakes too. So we're in performance mode, as I mentioned. We'll bring it to a stop. There is a bit of a slight incline here. But what you can do is press this button here in the middle twice to go into eco. So we'll kick off here. You can see it's barely picking up speed on this hill, and that's because eco is trying to conserve battery. So that's not what I want. We'll click it twice again. That's into D, which I think is default or drive. Again, not really cutting it. I'm sure if you gave it a bit of a boost, you'd be able to get it up to speed. It's really trying to do its best to conserve its battery. It's picking up a little bit of speed now. But I like performance because if you're doing short journeys, we're well within the range of what the battery can provide. It's going to give you the best response. See, we're actually picking up speed here. We're at 20 now, 21. Yeah, it's a lot quicker. It's definitely a lot more pleasurable, that's for sure. So as you can see, this is a bit of an incline here, a couple of degrees. And yeah, it's speeding along. So we'll dip down onto the road. Oop, there's our path right there. Haven't been this way before. Very maneuverable. Another aspect of this scooter that's quite good is that the tyres actually have tubes and they have air inside. They're pneumatic tyres. Some scooters have solid rubber tyres and they can be apparently quite uncomfortable. This one has a lot of compliance in it. You don't really feel the gaps in the concrete, and when you do hit a bump, it's quite smooth as well. Zip across the road. So yeah, little bumps there, easy. And we've got a bit of an incline here. We'll see how this handles it. We're still at 25. Yeah, look, it's still holding its speed. Yeah, look at that, no worries. It seems to me really that pretty much if you're fairly fit or, regular like I am, if you're walking up a hill that's a little bit difficult to walk up, then this scooter probably will start to slow down on that sort of grade. Any hill that's easy for you to handle, the scooter should be fine with, but anything steeper, yeah, you'll need to give it a bit of help. So we'll pull over up here and we'll check how the battery life is going. We've done a couple of Ks already. Okay, let's have a look. So far we've lost 11% battery. I'm not sure how far we've actually covered distance-wise here. I might work it out on Google Maps and put it up on screen. It's still saying we have 29 kilometers left. So that is actually quite far. So it's pretty flat here. We'll do a bit of a performance test. We just need to kick it beyond 1K per hour. Throttle down, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Here's a bit of a hill test. This one I think would be a bit of a struggle to walk up. You're probably not going to see the grade on camera because it just doesn't show up. But we are dipping down a little bit here. We're down to 21, 20. This will probably be a good example. We'll see how it goes. We're down to about 19, 18. I think it might get us 15. See, this is where you can start kicking, right? So we're down to about 15. We'll give it a bit of a help. So now we're back up to 20 and it's holding 20 for a bit. 19, 18. The thing about it is, I think it's pretty easy to live with. Kicking along like this does not take much energy at all. I'm not a very strong guy. I don't work out. I don't do any exercise at all. And that is not really physically taxing at all. Even on a hot day, a couple of kicks, it's nothing. So look, that was a pretty steep hill, pretty long hill. We have now overcome it. So already this journey would have been quite physically taxing for me on a bicycle. On a scooter, your heart rate is still at resting heart level. It's very easy to ride. Even with the kicking, it's nothing. So here we go, we'll zip over the bridge here. I've never been over this one before. Places a scooter will take you, hey? No one around, beautiful day. Yeah, awesome. I think the Segway Ninebot F2 scooter is a really cool budget scooter option. Take my words with a grain of salt. I've not tested any other scooters. I'm not a scooter rider. But if you're like me and you're looking for a scooter which you can commute on, like I said, up to 30 kilometers, I think it'd be awesome, as I said, to ride to the train station, take a train, and then get off the train and ride the scooter to your destination. You could cover a lot of distance without needing a car, all those associated costs. So we'll head up this way. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. So yes, the Segway F2, I can highly recommend it for the money. I did buy this with my own money, as I mentioned. Really good scooter, really comfy, pretty quick, surprisingly. I had my expectations pretty low considering the low entry cost of this scooter. Build quality seems really good. I don't really have any complaints about it. So if you're interested in one, do check it out. You probably can't test ride it, but take my word for it, it rides quite well. So I'm gonna leave it here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.